One guitar company that I've never owned a product from is Chapman Guitars. Now, there's no real reason for this because Chapman have been around for a long time. If you've been anywhere on the internet in the last 10 years, you'll know who Chapman Guitars are and you'll know all about Rob Chapman, the guy behind the brand. Now, for some reason, I have personally never gotten around to owning one of their instruments, even though I know a bunch of people who do own them and play them regularly, and I have played a bunch of Chapmans myself and always really liked them. But for whatever reason, one has just never found its way into my collection, but today that is going to change. So next to me I have a box here, which as you can see is still completely sealed. This is a box containing 4 different guitars from my buddies at Chapman, and today we're going to open this and I'm going to pick my very first Chapman on camera with you guys watching. Before we go any further, I just want to say that nearly 98% of the people who view my videos are not currently subscribed to my channel. If that's you and you're new here, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Subscriptions help the channel to grow, and as the channel grows, it helps me to keep on making more and more videos like this with the brands that I work with. If you enjoy these videos, please subscribe. It really does help support the channel and help things to keep growing. Now back to the video. You're probably going to see me looking a little bit tired and sluggish in this video because I've literally been home for 12 hours. I flew back from the States yesterday from the NAMM show. I'm very tired today, but honestly, this box has been sat in my studio for the last 2 weeks and I cannot wait any longer to get into it. So today we're going to open this box, and yeah, there's 4 different Chapman guitars inside. I know what I've asked them to send me because they asked what 4 I wanted to check out, but I don't actually know what's in the box. So whether they've sent me exactly what I asked for or whether it's a mix of different things and colors, that's going to be the exciting part here. So we're going to open this. I'm going to pick my very first one on camera with you guys today. So before we open this big box and find out what Chapman have sent me, I just want to let you guys know this is a sponsored video today. So the guys at Chapman are paying me to make this video, and I will also be keeping the guitar that I choose from this lineup. So there are 4 guitars in the box, one of which will be remaining with me to be used on the channel, and it will be coming on the road with me as well. The other 3 that we check out are going to be going back to Chapman as well. As always, all the thoughts and opinions that you're going to hear in this video are my own. Now let's get this thing open. So like I said, I've been waiting 2 weeks to open this box. It arrived probably about 8 hours before I left the house for the airport to fly out to the States for NAMM. And knowing this has been sat in the house has killed me because I actually went to see the Chapman guys at NAMM and I intentionally avoided playing anything on their stand that was from the same series of guitars that are going to be in this box because I didn't want to spoil my reactions. I did play a bunch of their new stuff at NAMM though, so please check those out when they hit the stores because there are some great things coming. So let's get into this big box that I've been waiting 2 weeks to get into. Okay. So I don't know what order these are going to come out in, so let's find out. I know which colors I've asked for as well, but I did also say to my friend Dan that works at Chapman, if there's anything that, isn't available in the colors that I've asked for, surprise me. You know what I like. So let's see how Dan did. Okay. Guitar number 1. Obviously the box just says Chapman on it. There's no real identifiers on the box that I can see that would tell me what's in it, other than there is a sticker on the bottom. But I'm just going to open the box and see what's in this one. So box number 1. Okay, we have a Chapman ML2. So the first part of this video is going to get a little bit cluttered because there's going to be boxes everywhere. But that's why I've got these 4 stands next to me. These guitars are going to be going on those stands once I've unboxed them. Okay. Number 1, the ML2. I think they call this finish buttercream or something like that. I'm going to check the website on that one. I like the ML2. This is actually the new design one. The first Chapman guitar I ever played was an ML2, but one of the original ones. They were slightly different shape to this. If I remember, the bottom horn was a little bit more kind of protruding. The new ML2s, they've kind of slimmed down a bit more. This is nice because it's like a flat top kind of single cut design. Very much kind of like in the vein of, what a modern Les Paul would be or something like an ESP Eclipse. I really like this. This is going to be a fun one to check out. What they've kind of done here is they've gone for a very slim neck profile. So typically on single cut guitars, we expect quite a chunky kind of, you know, classic rock heavy neck, but this is very kind of streamlined. So guitar number 1, Chapman ML2 guitar. Number 2, we have this is one I was definitely excited to check out, and I can see what this is through the horrible plastic bag that all guitar brands use. These bags are horrible. I think any guitar brand need a new way to package things because these things are horrible. Once you take the guitar out, they never go back in the same way. Chapman ML3 Traditional. This is another cool one. This is one that I knew I was definitely getting in this color because Dan said this was the only color they had in this model. And this is one I definitely wanted to check out. So, I mean, you can see what this thing's based on. It's T-style. It's got a slightly fatter neck than the ML2. So this one kind of feels a bit more like you'd expect this shape of guitar to. It's pretty much in tune, actually, as well, considering, you know, it's been transported and it spent 2 weeks in a box. It's pretty cool. Single coil P90. This is going to be a fun one. This is, I think it's called Tobacco Burst or Tobacco Sunburst, this color. Really nice color. I like this take on the T style. It's kind of a modern refinement on that classic style. So Chapman ML3 Traditional. 3. This one's slightly heavier, actually. This box is a bit heavier. So what have we got here? Okay. We have another ML3. But this time, it's one of the modern ones. So when we were deciding on what models I was going to check out, I requested one of each, the 1, 2, and 3. Then I also requested a modern version. So I either said the ML1 modern or the ML3 modern, really just depending on what they had in stock. And what I've been sent is this, the ML3 modern. This is, I think the color's called Sage Green. This is really cool. This obviously feels a little bit more modern than the traditional that I just showed you. It's got a couple more, you know, things like it's twin humbucker, it's got a coil split, 3-way switch, but it just feels that little bit more kind of tight and modern, like you'd expect a modern guitar to do so. It's got a cool little cutaway there for your forearm and a belly cut at the back. Kind of like a modern take on a T-style. It's got a slightly sloped headstock as well for a couple of different feel changes. Yeah, that's nice. I like that one. I always thought that the twin humbucker T-style would be one that I would not like that much. But looking at it in person, I do really like it. It's a really nice color. It's like a dark, dark green, much darker than it looks on the website. And, you know, even just first impressions out the box, that feels great. So that's the third guitar, the ML3 Modern. All right, so if my guesses are correct, the fourth guitar should be an ML1X. Let's have a look. And it is. This is one that I was very, very keen to check out because if you've seen any of my videos before, you know I like Super Strats and you know I like HSS guitars. So what we have here is the Chapman ML1X. And they've sent me the black one, which is a very nice color. It's actually a slightly transparent black, so you can see the wood grain on that. That might not be showing up on camera too well. It might come across on camera as kind of gloss black. But yeah, there's definitely a wood grain showing there. This is the one that I really wanted to check out because I love the HSS vibe of this thing. So then the ML1X. All right, so that's all 4 of the guitars unboxed. We've got the ML2, the ML3 Traditional, the ML3 Modern, and the ML1X at the back there. I'm going to clean some boxes away and then plug these things in and we'll hear a little bit of a sound comparison between them all and then I'll pick which one I want to keep. All right, so the guitar's now tuned up. Now I'm going to play a little bit on each one and kind of decide what it is that I want from a Chapman guitar. So I'm going to go through them in the order that I unboxed them, starting with the ML2. So all of these guitars are from the standard range, which means they're all in the kind of sub £700-800 region. Most of these you can pick up at retail price for around about the £500 to £600 mark in the UK. Obviously check with your local dealers. There's some links down below if you want to check them all out as well. So gear wise, I'm using quite a simple setup for this. Blackstar Studio 10 6L6, which is running completely clean. The amp is running via the 2-note Torpedo Captor X, and the overdrive you're hearing is the 1-plug gearbox. So you're going to be hearing some clean sounds from each guitar and some overdriven sounds. Now, I'm not going to be doing a huge deep dive into all the specs here, but we will talk about each of the guitars as a brief overview as well, just as we go through. And then, yeah, I'm going to pick which one I really like the most. So starting with the ML2. Now, I believe I said at the start of the video, this color was called Butterscotch. I was actually wrong. It's called Buttercream. So this is kind of like a plain ash veneer. It's really eye-catching. It's really nice. I don't usually love natural finish guitars, but this one is quite nice. I've got a mahogany back as well with the reveal binding on the side there. The back is a kind of satin black, which is very nice. On top of the guitar, we have 2 Chapman Centurion Zero humbuckers. These are very modern pickups, so these pickups may not be to my exact taste, but they do sound great. We have a volume control for the bridge, a volume control for the neck, and a master tone control. The tone control has a push-pull as well, so we can split these in single coils, and a 3-way switch like you'd expect from a typical single cut style. Now this is a set neck one, which is nice. It's got a recessed heel, so we can really kind of get up there at the high end of the fret. It's got 24 extra jumbo frets on there as well. As I mentioned, this one has kind of a slim neck for a single cut style. It's very fast feeling. Obviously, that's kind of the idea with Chapman's, is they're not vintage feeling guitars. So this does have a little bit of a slimmer neck than your typical single cut style, which is great for, you know, kind of just faster and kind of slicker playing. So let's check how this thing sounds clean. So those Centurion humbuckers are very modern sounding. They're very bright. When you split the coils, you get those nice kind of chimey, clean sounds. But then when you go into full humbucker mode, you get some warmer sounds. Now I'm going to kick on the 1-plug gearbox, and we're going to hear this thing with some drive. So the ML2 is super modern feeling. That has a bunch of really kind of current tones, I think. It's very bright, very sparkly, very kind of, it's got a lot of snap to the notes, which I like. When you play on the bridge humbucker with a bit of gain. Now there's a lot of punch to that. That's a really nice sounding guitar. I like it, but like I said, it's not my favorite kind of sound. I definitely gravitate more towards a traditional sound, but this is a great single cut for the money. My second guitar is the ML3 Traditional. This is a T-style guitar, which has a bit more of a vintagey kind of traditional feel, as the name would kind of suggest to you, but with some modern appointments, as Chapman do. So we have a mahogany body with an ash veneer on top. This finish is called Tobacco Ash. This is a really nice, also very high gloss finish, as you can see, which goes from this reddy brown on the outside to kind of like an orangey brown in the middle. It's a nice burst, but like I said, very, very glossy. You can see this thing's loaded with a single coil in the bridge, as typical of a T-style. But what isn't typical is having a P90 in the neck. These are Chapman branded pickups. Got a three-way switch of volume and tone, pretty much everything you expect from this kind of guitar. Maple neck, which has a satin back, which is incredibly smooth, very, very fast feeling. Now, like all the Chapmans, this has the rolled fingerboard edges, which makes it just a little bit more comfortable to play, kind of gives it that played-in feel. It's got pretty much all the regular T-style appointments that we'd expect. Obviously, we've got the reverse headstock there, of course. But yeah, this is a great kind of modern take on a T-style. It's got some things like a bit of a neck heel carve there, and the cutaway here has the extra sort of space for your hand to get up there. Just all those little tweaks you'd want a T-style guitar to have if you had a vintage T-style that just needed a bit of refinement. Now we're going to hear this thing starting clean. So that has much more of that typical kind of T-style response. We've got the real snappiness of that bridge pickup. Obviously it's a bridge single, so you get that, and then you get a much warmer, fatter sound from that neck. Courtesy of that P90. Now we're going to put some gain on and hear how this sounds with some drive. So that to me is a little bit more what I'm kind of looking for in a guitar. It's a bit more chewy and a bit more kind of vintage feeling. That neck P90 sounds great. The bridge pickup is nice and kind of punchy. You get all those cutting kind of twangy tones that we want. But yeah, in that neck position, that sounds really good. I love the feel of this guitar. The neck with the rolled edges and the slightly thicker neck profile kind of talks to me a little bit. I'm a big fan of the ML3 traditional. All right, so next up we've got the ML3 Modern. Now we're going slightly out of my comfort zone with this one because it's a twin humbucker T-style guitar. For me, that kind of confuses the brain a little bit, but this is a really fun guitar nonetheless. So for this one, we have an older body, which is slightly more lightweight than the traditional, but we've still got the same ash top. This time we've got a satin finish on top of this, known as sage green, and the back is the same satin black finish as the other models we've looked at. This obviously has a pair of humbuckers. These are the Chapman Sonorous Zero humbuckers. I think I'm saying that right. They're ceramic humbuckers, you know, kind of like the ones on the ML2. They're very modern, very kind of suited for high gain, but they can do a lot more. But they have a very clear, almost like a hi-fi kind of quality to their sound. Super bright, very sparkly, but, you know, great feeling nonetheless. On this guitar, we have a maple neck once more, but with a Mikasa ebony fretboard. Now, this does have the same rolled edges, but the edges on this one, to me, feel slightly less rolled than the other two I've already played, giving it, again, a little bit more of a modern, I guess, new guitar feel. The rolled edges kind of contribute to it feeling a bit more played in and a bit more vintage. This has rolled edges, but they're not as prominently rolled, so we do kind of lose a little bit of that played in feel on this one. And then this one has an angled headstock, unlike the ML2 traditional, which has a straight headstock, just kind of keeping with the modern design touches there. And we've also got a big neck volute there, just obviously for security and kind of stability at the headstock. It's got the same cuts, so we've got the cut here on the lower horn and the neck heel carve that the ML3 traditional has, as well as the forearm contour and the belly cut as well. So this one, as well as having humbuckers, we have a master volume and a master tone, three-way switch, and a coil split there as well, so we can turn these humbuckers into single coils. So let's start off with some clean tones. So instantly, this guitar's a lot louder. So obviously those humbuckers, again, being modern, are just going to give it a little bit more push and a little bit more bite than the single coils on the traditional, or even the humbuckers that are on the ML2. This actually sounds a bit louder than that one does. I've not changed any of my settings in the room. So those humbuckers are, again, very versatile, much like the ones on the ML2. They, to me, sound a little bit fuller in the low end. There's a bit more low end presence there, especially when you play with the neck humbucker. Definitely more low end going on there. But then in the middle position, we do get that nice sparkle, as well as that low end presence. Coil split is again useful if you want to dive into some more modern sounds or some really sparkly cleans. Personally, for me, this is a little bit outside of my comfort zone as far as a clean guitar goes, but I think where this thing's really going to shine is when we kick on some gain. the ML3 Modern is jam-packed with great tones. I really like the way this thing sounds. Those humbuckers are probably a little bit too hot for my taste, but they're super punchy. I really like the way they sound in the split coil positions. This one probably feels a little bit too modern for me, but it's a great guitar. It's very much a kind of a workhorse thing. I think this kind of guitar would really sit well on the road if you're looking for a kind of a classic looking guitar, but with a lot of modern refinements. This is insanely good. Those humbuckers sound great, like I said. I really like it in the split coil position. But I do think this one feels slightly too modern for what I am personally looking for. But if that's you and you're looking for a modern T-style that can do the high gain stuff, you should definitely check one of these out. All right, and the fourth guitar is the ML1X. This is the ML1 to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the ML1, which is why it's called the ML1X. Now this color I've got here is transparent gloss black or gloss transparent black. I can't remember which one. This is a mahogany body. Again, it's all finished in gloss black, but we have an ash veneer on the top as always. But the veneer on the top of this one, now you can't really see it that well on camera, but it is actually a transparent black, which means you can actually see some flaming and some figuring there on the top of the guitar. But it's very, very hard to see on camera because it's such a reflective body. Now, coming into the video, this for me is the model that I thought I would gravitate towards the most. So we're going to see if that's true, because I love Strats and I love HSS, super Stratty kind of designs. So I've kind of entered into this with the kind of idea that this is probably the Chapman for me. Out of everything I've played so far, I'm actually gravitating towards the ML3 traditional, but let's see how this thing stacks up. So obviously, super Strat design, HSS. In the bridge, we've got a Chapman humbucker. On the Chapman website, it doesn't actually have a name, it just says Chapman humbucker, and we've got 2 Chapman single coils as well. Usual layout here, we've got 5-way switch, which is bridge. In the second position, it splits to the outer coil of the bridge and the middle position, so we've got that typical Strat position 2 thing. Position 3 is just the middle pickup, 4 is the middle and neck, and 5 is just the neck. Then we've got a master tone control and a master volume. There's no independent split coil for the humbucker, which for me personally isn't really that big of a deal. But what I do like is that they automatically split it in this second position here. So we're in position 2, automatically splits the outer coil of the bridge and the middle position. I rarely use a bridge single coil on its own, so for me that is pretty good spec there. Maple neck, just like the other ones, with a Mikasa ebony fretboard again on this one. This one has the real rolled edges, so this one feels very kind of played in, very vintagey. I really like the amount of roll they've put on this particular one. Got that not super recessed neck heel, but there is a slight carve to the neck heel. It is angled slightly, so we can kind of get up there easy. Usual Chapman layout here with the reverse headstock, the standard die-cast tuners. This one has a vintage style trem on it as well. This one has come factory preset with the bridge all the way back down, so it would be dive only. I would probably put that as a slight float just for my own personal setup. That's obviously something really easy to change. This also has jumbo nickel frets on it, which is quite nice. I quite like a bigger fret, so that's a very nice touch. It's a modern take on the Super Strat design, which is really fun. I am instantly kind of into this one purely because of the Super Strat design. It's really something that I like. I've never really been the biggest fan of black guitars, but there's something about this one. I think it's partly to do with that reveal binding there as well that you can see. This is really kind of speaking to me. I really enjoy this. It kind of feels quite classy as well, having it all black with the reveal binding. Something I never really thought about in a guitar, even though black guitars don't always film that well because you can't really get the finer details because they're so black, and I often wear black, so I mean on video this might get a little bit lost against me, but in person I'm really liking the way this thing looks. The only major downside to a glossy black guitar is that they will pick up a lot of fingerprints. Any kind of dust or any scratches are usually quite visible on these kind of guitars, but that's a small price to pay when it looks as good as it does. I kind of wish that you could see the transparent finish on this thing on camera, because I can see that it's not filming as well as I want it to in that sense, because the transparent finish actually looks great in person because you can actually see quite a bit of the wood grain. So let's hear some tones from this thing. So obviously we're going to start clean. I'm going to go through all 5 of the pickup combinations. So with this being a HSS with a 5-way, there's a lot of those kind of expected tones there. We've got that nice rounded neck pickup. Then we get into those kind of position 4, you know, those tones. Position 3 actually sounded a bit louder. I think maybe the middle position is slightly higher. I'm probably going to adjust that slightly. The pickup is slightly higher, so we're getting a bit more bite there. Position 2, we get those nice kind of quacky, funky sounds. I never really use clean humbucker tones. That one's quite nice. It's quite warm and quite rounded sounding. So now, all 5 pickup positions with some drive. So the ML1X delivered exactly what I wanted it to deliver. It's got those big bridge humbucker rock tones. But then when we go to the neck pickup, we've got those kind of Stevie Ray kind of things. And then in between, we've got all the other different things that a good HSS Super Strat style should give us. So that's all 4 of the guitars. So now I have to pick one. So each one of these guitars has different characteristics and different things that they're really good at. Now, I have to ask myself the question of what I'm looking for from these guitars as well. Now, for me, as a person who shoots a lot of videos, I also play in a bunch of different styles, and I spend a lot of time on the road. For me, a guitar needs to be versatile. So as much as I loved the ML3 Modern, which is this one again, much as I love this one, I don't think this is the Chapman for me. This is great. This plays fantastic and it sounds fantastic, but for me, it's a little bit too modern feeling, but that's not to discount it as, you know, a bad guitar. It's just not the guitar that I would personally gravitate towards. I like this. I would probably Use this more as a recording tool than anything. Great for demoing high gain things or for using in the studio. But yeah, unfortunately the ML3 Modern is not the Chapman guitar that I'll be picking today. ML2, now this one surprised me a little bit because I like single cut guitars, but I don't love single cut guitars. So I kind of entered into this one with the idea that this might be the one that I would definitely not gravitate towards. But I actually like this a little bit more than the ML3 traditional, the ML3 Modern, I should say. I like this one a little bit more. I think for me, the pickups were slightly different voiced, and that kind of spoke to me a little bit. I like the way this plays. I like the way this feels. I find it a little bit weird that it has 24 frets. I know that's obviously an intentional design on Chapman's part. I just find single cut styles with 24 frets a little bit weird because I'm so used to playing Les Pauls. But it feels great. But I do think the scale length on this is a little bit longer than a typical single cut style. So that kind of threw me a little bit. I'm pretty sure this is like a 25.5-inch scale. Let me know if I'm wrong in the comments. I'm sure someone will correct me on that one. But yeah, this is great. But also this is not the Chapman for me. I do love this and I would definitely have one. But right now this is not what I'm looking for. After that, we checked out the ML3 traditional. Now you can kind of see where I'm going here because really the final two are a bit more on the traditional edge. So the two that are super modern were the two that didn't really give me what I wanted. They're both great guitars, but they weren't exactly what I was looking for. Now these two, however, have both given me exactly what I wanted. So I'm kind of torn between these two because they're both really good guitars and they both offer a bunch of different things. Now this I love because it has those typical kind of telly style twangy tones in the bridge pickup, and I really, really enjoy that slightly warmer fat neck P90. I love the neck on this thing. This is a great neck. They're all satin necks, but this satin neck just feels like more satin. I don't know if that's a thing, but I just really like the way this one feels. This, I think they've nailed in terms of like getting the balance between traditionally what a T-style guitar should feel like and some of that modern functionality. And then this thing, this is just insane. It's actually surprisingly heavy. It's way heavier than I thought it was going to be, which again, I don't mind. I like heavy guitars, but this is heavy for a super strat style. Now, I love the 5-way switch. I love the fact that it's HSS. I like the vintage style trem. Like I said, I would set this up to be floating slightly rather than bolted down to the body. But yeah, this thing is a guitar that I could very much foresee me taking on the road. Now, like I said, I never really thought I would love a black guitar. This does have a nice transparent kind of finish to it where you can see the wood grain up close, but that doesn't always film very well. And that's also the other reason I've never fully gravitated to black guitars, because they don't always show up well on camera. But I do really love playing this thing. This has a real kind of rounded fretboard edge. It's probably the most rounded fretboard edge of the four of them, I think. And that kind of instantly clicked with me. I love the tones from this thing. I love the feel of it. So yeah, I'm kind of torn between these two. I'm probably going to go out on a limb here and say the Chapman guitar that I'm going to pick today is going to be the ML1X. And that's a marginal thing based on the fact that it's HSS. I love HSS guitars, and for what I need as a guitar player, that kind of works for me because it's sort of an all-in-one workhorse that I can take out on the road. It can do every tone I need it to do. This is insanely good. I love this and I want one, but the Chapman guitar that I'm going to be sticking with is going to be the ML1X. So yeah, there it is. There is me picking my first Chapman guitar on camera. Let me know which one of the four you guys would have picked and what your thoughts are on all of the guitars that you've seen in this video. I, like I said, have really grown towards this one, but they're all great. In all honesty, I don't want to send any of them back. They're all fantastic guitars, and I keep all four of them if I had the choice. But unfortunately, only one can stay, and it's going to be this one. So these three are going to be going back to the guys at Chapman. Thanks so much to Dan and the other guys over at Chapman for sending this and the other three guitars for me to check out. I've had a lot of fun shooting with these guitars, and I'm going to have a lot of fun putting this thing through its paces. Like I said, let me know down below in the comments what you guys thought of all of these guitars. And also, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel as well. Thank you guys as always, and I'll see you very soon.